Hi guys, Katelyn Hunter here with Olive Tree Counseling located at Southside Pastoral Counseling. I wanted to come to you guys for video number 4 of our mindfulness series. And today I wanted to talk about kind of assessing our different types of thinking and what our thoughts are currently doing and how that's affecting us. But before we get into that, I wanted to go over and review the grounding technique from the last video. So just as a quick review here, last video toward the end, I told you guys about what we call the grounding technique. And that basically is just the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tool that we can use to ground ourselves in the present moment. So that is being able to kind of hone in on what your senses are currently experiencing and just recognizing what's going on with you right in that exact moment. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Identifying 5 things that you can currently see in your environment. Identifying 4 things that you can currently touch in your environment. Identifying 3 things that you can currently hear in your environment. I had to left my mind there for a moment. 2 things that you can smell and 1 thing that you can taste. So this is going to be a helpful tool that you can use when you feel super scattered and just need to give yourself that little break, that little moment to refocus your attention on the present. It's also going to be helpful for you to use if you feel like you are coming on or with an anxiety attack, or you feel like an anxiety attack or a panic attack coming on. It's just going to help to redirect your thoughts and refocus your attention. So if you also pair that with some sort of relaxation technique like deep breathing or like safe place imagery, which those are going to be some things that I touch on later on, then that's going to be really helpful for you to be able to try to avoid that panic attack. It's also going to be a really good tool that you can maybe use on some of your friends or family if they are seeming to have a panic attack and they're coming to you help me, what do? I need some help. Can you help me get through this? Or maybe you just want to be able to offer up some sort of comfort or some sort of advice. You can teach them this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique. So hopefully it comes of some use for you. But today, I wanted to talk a little bit about assessing our different types of thinking. So as you may recall, I've showed you this picture before. Again, I'm sorry it's backwards. Situation, thought, emotion, behavior. So situations in and of themselves do not lead to our emotions. It's our thoughts that lead to our emotions. So if we can identify what types of emotions are giving us trouble, then we're going to be able to, identify that, work on changing that, and then lead us to a different emotion. Again, it's a lot harder than it seems. It's not as easy as you might think. So, in the therapy world, in the therapist psychology world, we call these things cognitive distortions or thinking errors or unhelpful thinking styles or stinking thinking. There's lots of different names for them. I typically just call them unhelpful thinking styles because that's exactly what they are. They are thinking patterns, ways that we think that do not help us out in any way, and oftentimes they're not even true. So let me give you an example, and I'm just going to touch on probably let's see, I'm going to touch on 4. There's 10 main different types of unhelpful thinking styles, but I'm going to touch on 4, and I would say that these probably are the 4 most common ones. So the first one is all or nothing thinking, or also known as black and white thinking. So these types of people who have these thoughts, they either can do it all right or they cannot do it at all. They're either all in or they're all out. It's all right or it's all wrong. There's no gray area. And as we know, life is not black and white, and there's a lot of gray area in life. So to go around trying to categorize your life into these black and white categories is going to be very stressful. So getting us to a place where we can try to like gray up life a little bit can be kind of hard, but it's going to help us to be more flexible and to go through life more smoothly. So black and white thinking, all or nothing thinking. And an example of a thought like this might be, let's see, I didn't do that task perfectly, so I failed at that task. Again, that's a vague thought. We would have a more specific thought going through our head if this was happening to us, but that is an example of a thought. So maybe just trying to help identify, okay, is this black and white, or like, is there possibly like a gray area that this could be? So black and white thinking. The second one that I wanted to share with you guys is jumping to conclusions. So there's like two different like subcategories within this type in this category. So there's mind reading and fortune telling. So mind reading, predicting or thinking that we know what other people are thinking. Example, we walk down the hallway at work or at school, and as soon as we walk by a group of people, they start laughing. We immediately think to ourselves, oh my gosh, they must be laughing at me. Do I have something on my face? Is there something like wrong with my clothes? Do I look stupid? Like, what, you know, have these thoughts, oh my gosh, they must be making fun of me. They must be talking about me. We have no way of knowing what these guys are thinking, unless we're mind readers, which I'm not, so I don't think that there's any way that you could know for sure that they were laughing at you or talking about you. You know, there's a lot of other possibilities that could be going on. Maybe they got a funny text message, or maybe someone just shared a joke, or maybe they have an inside joke, or, you know, who knows? There's a lot of other possibilities, but our mind immediately goes to, oh my gosh, they must be thinking about me. That is not completely accurate because we cannot read people's minds. So that is why that is an unhelpful thinking style. Another one that goes along with the jumping to conclusions is fortune telling. So predicting the future. We can get really good at this and think that we for sure know what's going to happen, when really there's a whole bunch of variables and a whole bunch of factors that can happen with any given situation in our life, but yet we believe that we know what's going to happen. So here's an example. Say that we get invited to a party, and we say, no, I don't want to go to the party because I just know that I'm not going to really know anybody there, and I'm going to be sitting by myself in the corner and not have anyone to talk to, and I'm going to look like a fool all night long and end up crying myself and going home. Crying myself to sleep that night and, you know, going home from the party, and it's just going to be a terrible time. What? We have no way of knowing what is going to happen. If we go to that, unless we go to that party, right? But we have already built it up in our mind that this is what's going to happen. We are going to go to that party, and we are not going to know anybody, and we're going to be sad, and we're going to be lonely, and we're going to feel worthless. We've already predicted that that is going to happen. And so once our brain gets like stuck on that thought, then our body starts responding as if that situation is actually happening. So then all that anxiety starts rushing in, and then we really don't want to go to the party because we're feeling anxious and we know that this terrible thing's going to happen. But really, we don't know if that thing is going to happen unless you have a magic 8-ball, which I don't. There's no way that we can know for sure of exactly what's going to happen. So mind reading and fortune telling, those both fall under the jumping to conclusions category. The other one that I wanted to share with you here, or two other ones, excuse me. One is catastrophizing. So the third one here, catastrophizing. This one is pretty self-explanatory and tends to creep up on people that struggle with anxiety. So this is thinking of the worst possible case scenario and blowing it way out of proportion. Example, maybe you arrive late to work. This is the thought that you have. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm late to work today. My boss is going to be so mad. He's probably going to write me up. Then I'm going to get like in trouble. And then I might like have to get fired. And then I'm going to lose my job. Then I'm not going to have any income. So then I'm not going to have a place to stay because I'll lose my house because I don't have any income. And then no one's ever going to want to hire me again. I'm going to be homeless on the side of the road, under the bridge forever, rest of my life, homeless, alone. Whoa! Okay, so what is the likelihood that that is actually going to happen? Probably like 0.00001%. Like, not very likely. But yet, our brain has predicted it to be true, and our body starts responding as if that is actually happening. The worst case scenario is actually happening. So, yeah, like why wouldn't we be freaking out if our brain or body thought that was actually going to happen? We're going to be homeless on the side of the road for the rest of our life. Okay, but we have to be able to think about all these other possibilities that could occur too, because there's 99% chance that these other things are going to happen, but we're not even thinking about those things. We're only focusing on the worst possible case scenario. So that's the third unhelpful thinking style. And the fourth one, the last one that I wanted to share with you, is shoulds and musts. And that's just what it is. When we tell ourselves we should have done this, or we should have done that, or I wish I would have done this, I wish I would have done that. These words can make us feel guilty and like we've already failed. And the reason that they're not helpful is because it's giving ourselves this goal to achieve that we can never achieve, because it's impossible, because we cannot go back in time to achieve that goal. So, example, I should have studied more for that test. Okay, yeah, maybe I should have, but can I go back in time and change that I studied more? Like, change it so that I studied more and prepared more for the test? No, I can't. So, those words are just setting us up for failure, those shoulds and musts. We can't go back and change things in the past, but we can learn from our mistakes and move forward. So whenever we get stuck in that pattern of those shoulds, it's not helpful, because there's no way that we can go back in time and change it. So those are the four unhelpful thinking patterns that I wanted to share with you today. So again, that's the all or nothing thinking, the jumping to conclusions, the catastrophizing, and the should statements. Those four things are going to lead us down a path to feeling pretty stressed, feeling pretty sad, feeling worthless, feeling guilty, all these different types of emotions that are not good. So what we want to be able to do instead is to focus on whenever with these, let me back up. So when we have these thoughts pop into our head, we want to be able to identify them as what they are. Because if we're able to kind of see our thoughts, or like picture our thoughts as like an outside entity, like that's why like writing them down is super helpful, and identifying them as like, okay, this thought is black and white. And then that's going to be able to help us to turn that thought into something that's more healthy, or think of different options for that thought, which is going to lead us to a healthier emotion and a happier, more peaceful emotion. So instead of getting caught up in those like shoulds or what ifs or the worst case scenarios, take a moment, take a breath, and ask yourself, what is going on with me right this moment? Because stress typically isn't from the current exact moment that you're in. Stress, a lot of times, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but stress a lot of times is from all of these thoughts that we have swirling in our head from the past or from the future. So if we can just take a moment, ground ourselves, and deal with what's going on right now, and try to identify or label our thoughts that are causing us stress, then we're going to be better equipped to deal with these thoughts that cause all these distressing emotions. And we're going to continue talking about this, but really the first step is just being able to identify those thinking patterns that aren't very helpful, because once we can identify them, then we can work on changing them. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making it 15 minutes into this video. I would be happy to see you guys again on my next video. I appreciate you guys. If you ever want to reach out, if you have questions, you can contact me at my website or my email or phone. All of that contact information is listed on my website and on my Facebook page, Katelyn Hunter at Olive Tree Counseling, located here at Southside Pastoral Counseling. And I hope to see you guys soon. See you next time.